these things need to change for it to actually make a big change as a whole, especially between the black community and the gay community, and how it's a separation. And because it's a separation, we will never fully work as a whole. We'll never fully get all of our rights to have all our rights like looked at as important because we're so separated, and they know that.
I think people forget that we're men at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like,
People do
we're
forget
still men.
Preach on that.
Crazy.
Like,
Oh
the
man.
surface is different, but the surface you may get something different, but it's still a nigga under all this. Like, don't get it twisted.
Welcome to Code 99 Podcast. It's your boy Carl G. I'm here with my boys Myron and Sprad. What's up? What's up?
Yo, what's up, Carlson?
What's up, guys?
And we have a special guest today, Ikeem He. You want to say what's up to the crowd?
It's good, y'all.
What's good? What's good? All right, so today we have another special episode. This is the third. We back to back to back. This is the three-peat with the three-peat for guests. But this is a special episode. There's been a lot of stuff that's going on in the media right now. There's a lot of stuff that's going on and just life in general. Just the acceptance of something that's been, I guess, not say kept in the dark, but people look bad upon, or frowned upon. Such as, gay marriage, just the LGBT community in itself. You can see it on TV. You can see it everywhere. And, we have a podcast where we like to share stories and give people's perspectives. And we also just three heterosexual males, you know what I'm saying? So on this podcast, and we wanted to introduce somebody, or we wanted to introduce a group, just to be able to talk to about certain topics that we might not be too educated on, or we might come off ignorant about. You know what I mean? So before we even get into all that, I want the audience to know who Ikeem He is. I know you have a podcast. I know you're an assistant store manager. You want to tell us about yourself?
Well, I got a podcast on Anchor, everywhere you can kind of listen to podcasts, which is Ikeem He of the Day. Kind of got into that just to try to branch out. I always knew I had a voice, but definitely wanted to use it more and have different type of conversations, whether it's for music, whether it's like political, or just conversation that needs to kind of be had type shit. And yeah, I'm assistant store manager at Walgreens, trying to live out the American dream, quote unquote.
The American dream. Yeah, we all try to get that, right? But yeah, so you wanna just talk about more about your podcast, different things you talk about, like how long you've been doing it for, your passion behind it, different topics you might have brought up.
So I've been doing it for a little over 2 years now. So I kind of get into music, movies, of course, like the black community, the LGBT community, about political stuff, just about like different topics that definitely, or different conversations that would hopefully either educate someone, open their eyes, or just have people kind of get, not necessarily where I'm coming from, but understand the cause behind it. Understand that these things need to change for it to actually make a big change as a whole, especially between the black community and the gay community, and how it's a separation. And because it's a separation, we will never fully work as a whole. We'll never fully get all of our rights to have all our rights like looked at as important because we're so separated, and they know that.
I believe you brought up something very important. The separation between the black community, and I don't even want to say the separation between the black community and gay community because it's y'all apart. But there is a separation. There is like there's different stigmas, but I want to hold that for later on in the conversation, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So we again, we supposed to have another guest, but we just gonna get back. I just want to just know, like, for your perspective, like, when did you know? Like, when did you know that you again? Was it like a thing that you had to come out with, or was it something that you was always comfortable with? You want to tell us about that experience?
Okay, so I kind of always knew that I was not necessarily, I wouldn't say different, but different. So I always knew like I had some attraction to men, but I didn't necessarily know what that was or what the label was or what that was called. Because oftentimes, of course, living in most black families, you don't have that education, you don't have that likeness or that information given to you. So you have to go kind
True.
of search for it. So with me searching for it, then I eventually figured out kind of what that was or what kind of feelings I was having. So I kind of came out, I would say like 17, 18, after
Mm.
dealing with a girl at the time. And after we broke up and we had a miscarriage and all of that, then I kind of just really became or started talking to dudes and then noticed that, okay, this is what I actually like and stay there.
That's what's up. I mean, not the whole
Uh,
miscarriage part. Obviously, that's a little bad. I mean, I'm sorry for
that's
that.
sad.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I know a few people who experienced that in their lifetime. That's another type of trauma that I don't think I could compare to. So many blessings to you and your partner at that time.
Thank you.
Um, but it's more. I wanted to say is in a positive light. You know, we had this episode a couple episodes ago about half empty, half full. Like you was able to find your true self within all that. If it sound
That
like,
episode was really dope.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah. And yeah, I would definitely want to shout out your podcast a little bit more because you definitely, I know you was like able to talk about these topics just from hearing your podcast. Like, I think it was a why is the black community so afraid of gay men or something like that, and I was just like, oh shit, like he gets there, he goes there, and I'm like, okay. And I remember you sent it to me when I was still working, when we was like working together, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
and I like the direction, and I like the like what you stand for, and I respect that, and I'm glad you're able to have these open and honest conversations, because again, we could be ignorant, we don't know, you know what I'm saying? Again, like it's something that we educate. I have conversations with my girlfriend all the time, and like some things that might shock me, where she's just like it's acceptable or like it's okay. Like why is that have to offend you? Like I saw a guy wearing a dress, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, and I don't want to offend him. Like if you want to wear a dress, that's okay. But I'm like, I noticed it because that's not something that I grew up knowing. That's not something that I grew up that was like, you know, that was a part of
That
the
was,
norm. Like if you see it
right. That wasn't your
nowadays,
norm.
huh?
Right. I said right. That wasn't your norm,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it wasn't my norm, and it was something that it was just like I don't want to offend anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we might, and especially me, like I know we work together, so I was definitely professional, you know, at work. But like I don't judge people, but like you know, I'm a bold person, so I might say something, it might come off blunt, and it might come off ignorant sometimes. I know Sprad be scared to say things. He already had this conversation with some people who were just like, oh, you might want to watch what we say. I'm just like, yo, bro, listen, there's sincerity into everything that we do. Like you already know me, Ikeem. I fuck with you, my boy. We can hang out. We did, you know, we did it before. We fucking grew up in AST classes together. Then that's dope. And anybody like that, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? A person is a person. A person is a person. I don't give a shit. If your preference is your preference, their preference is your preference. And we don't always have to talk about it. And it's something that I feel like we do have to talk about because there's still a barrier. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's still a barrier between both sides, and it shouldn't be. And there's more topics like this that we're gonna get into, not necessarily with you, but with, you know, others. Just stuff like, you know, as you see is going on with Cuomo and everything, and people don't understand the differences of like what's accepted and what force looks like. You know what I mean? Like different things like that. And this is just one of the topics that we definitely want to talk about. And I'm glad that you're on board with us. Before we get more into it, did y'all want to ask any questions? You want to step in and ask me any questions before we move on?
Yeah, sure. So you said um you didn't really feel free or you didn't accept it until around 17, 18, and then afterwards, you after the miscarriage you had with the partner at the time, um, you said growing up you didn't really understand it. Can you just like take us back, for our audience and for us, like your journey, I guess, or was it really a journey for you? Because maybe it came natural to you because like you said, it's frowned upon by black families, and we look at it like, oh wow, my young son is into guys. There's something wrong with him. But maybe your family, or maybe even yourself, you saw it as like it's natural. I love someone. I'm attracted to someone because we all have an attraction to someone, whether it's same sex or opposite sex is, up to that person's choice. So can you just like bring it back to us, how your upbringing was, the support early on from your family and friends?
Okay. So I would say for me, there was really no support because I guess living in a back home, like, of course, for me, my mom was the first one to know or always knew. So when I told her, it wasn't like a shock kind of thing. But of course, when you tell your father, it's a completely different scenario. Because for whatever reason, I feel like they failed as a father, they failed at life, and that's not even the case. But growing up, I didn't necessarily know what it was. So I never really tapped into it per se. Like I knew I kind of always were more on the feminine side. I kind of like more of the female artists and stuff like that. I always kind of play double dutch or like not necessarily like in the streets until my teenage years, where I was kind of defining myself stage, where I was trying to fit into different crowds and then still sneak around and kind of do what I kind of like per se, whether it was like double dutch or just chilling with the girls on the block kind of thing. Until I kind of figured out, okay, so maybe I do like guys, but I never tried it. I looked at them growing up,
Hmm.
but I just didn't know exactly what that was because I was always brought up to you're supposed to be with a girl kind of thing. Like there was options. I was never taught the options or the avenues or okay, so you may be gay. Like just see these are the steps. So these are the things I had to kind of figure out for myself.
Question: if are your parents American? Where are your parents from?
Mama, my father's from Trini, and my mother was from the South.
Okay, shout out to the Southern roots. Um,
Hmm.
as a kid or even now as a man, did your father have conversations with you about how this is accepted in his culture? Because I feel like that's like the ground basis of why we have like a certain outlook on whether if my son is into men or my daughter's into women or sex changes and things of that nature.
No, we never fully had a conversation about my sexuality. I just came out and then that was kind of it, to be honest. And I'm not that close with my family, so it's that part too. And I definitely feel like it's definitely different between parents who has per se a lesbian daughter than a gay son.
What makes
Because
you say that?
for me, lesbians are more acceptable. Lesbians are a fantasy. And then they
Right,
feel like
Damn.
and then most of the time they feel like it's a phase. They feel like,
right.
oh, my daughter's never gonna always marry a woman. It's just a phase. She's gonna like a dude again. X, Y, Z. But once you're gay, or like say a guy is bisexual, he's never looked at as bisexual. He's looked at as gay because you've
That's
been with a
true.
man before. So now I can't.
Why is it like that?
Why do you
The
think
double,
it's like that?
yeah,
the double standards.
There's doubles. I think, yeah, honestly, I think there's a lot of double standards when it comes to male, like women and men, like, because I ain't gonna lie, when you said the thing about fantasies, like, I think it's acceptable on both sides when it comes to male and female. When it comes to lesbian, like two lesbians than it comes to two gay males. I think on both sides. Like you even go on the porn, people watch that shit. People gonna go and watch, two lesbians before they watch two males. It's like it's crazy. Like it's crazy. But I'm not saying this for myself, but I think the tides is changing. Like if like my girl's been teaching me about what the spectrum is, like as far as homosexuality goes, and like even homosexual, I don't even know what to call it anymore. Like honestly, the spectrum for like what you identify yourself as, and like what free love is, and like someone who don't even maybe identify themselves as like a male or a female, like and they just like look at a person in their spirit and or like who you are, and like and if you look back at like I don't even know, like medieval time. I don't fucking know. Like you can see it, like whatever time they trying to portray on like Game of Thrones and stuff. Like there's a lot of males who are like are seen sexually than what they wanted you to see before. Like whereas maybe early '90s, early 2000s, we were seeing a lot of manly males. Now we're seeing so many different type of males and so many people who might be more connected to their emotions and shit like that. I don't know. It's just it's different. The tides are turning now. It's crazy. And this is what I think is important because it's just like it's coming out there for everybody, and like whether you want to accept it or not, like and these conversations have to be had. It's crazy, but it's a lot that's going on. I'm bad.
I'm happy. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm happy we're turning. I'm happy, like, believe that we're turning, like, the growth that the country is actually making in terms of acceptance, or in terms of like this isn't in a phase, this is not going anywhere kind of thing. Like it's either you gotta accept it or not, and if you still don't accept it in 2021, then there's probably something wrong with you or your upbringing. But then at a certain age, then it's you, and that's kind of how I felt.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Myron from the Code 99 Podcast, and I'm here to tell you how you can help us make the podcast better. You can go to your Apple Podcast, your Spotify, or your platform of choice and leave us a comment review. This helps us with our visibility and helps us be better. So don't forget to follow us at Code 99 Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Here we're going to fill you in on what's going on with the podcast and update you, the listeners. Free feel to reach out to us and comment and like and all that stuff. And plus, we get to interact with you guys, our listeners, which is really important so we can build that audience. Catch you on the next episode and see what we unlock.
We back. We got our second guest now. It's a good friend of me and Spraz. His name is Anthony White, also going as Theo Ivory. You want to say hello to the people?
Good morning, good afternoon. What's up? How's everybody doing? Sorry I'm late.
All good, bro.
This is what makes a good podcast. We doing this shit live. You know what I'm saying? We going exactly with the flow. We letting this shit go. So we kind of talked to Ikeem about what he does and who he is. So if you want to just tell the audience who you are, I know you do some wrestling. If you want to talk about a little bit of your wrestling, promote yourself a little bit, go ahead. This is your time.
Okay. So I want to give people the real of what I do, because when people hear that you're a wrestler, that's really all they see. Like they don't know that as an independent wrestler, like nigga, we broke. Like we like niggas out here making we like niggas out here making mixtapes. Like it's literally the same thing. Like yeah, we do shows and stuff, but the goal is to get to a point in your career to where you're like, oh, if you want to book me for a match tonight, my rate is $300, my rate is $400. I'm not there yet. So yes, I do wrestle. I wrestle for CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling. A lot of wrestlers that today came up through CZW, and I didn't realize that, like, just how special CZW was until probably like a year ago. Because I looked at like the list of alumni, the list of like former world champions, and I'm like, oh shit, like this is the real deal. So that's what I do. I also work for the government. So my normal week is Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. I'm at my actual job. In wrestling, we call that a shoot job. So Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, I'm at my shoot job. We have training 4 days a week. I typically try to go to like at least two. And then if we do have a booking or a show, it's typically on the weekend. So Monday through Friday, I'm like on go. And then when the weekend comes, sometimes I don't have like a day to rest until Sunday. Because if I have a booking, it'll usually be Saturday. Unless it's like last week where I had a show Saturday and a CZW taping on Sunday. So every day of the week I was on go.
Where do you usually wrestle at? Like what venues? Or areas?
So I live in Philly. So there's a lot of promotions out here. Like the Northeast is really popular for independent wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So my most consistent booking is in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. It's like a little redneck town. But I love it because the fans are amazing. And the promotion has been around for like 70 years. And they used to be a part of NWA.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So yeah, I do that booking every month.
That's dope.
Yeah, it is. Like I love it.
Yeah, listen, if you ever wrestle in Atlantic City at any time, let me know. I was over there like during the summer, and I was like, and they had like a wrestling show. I said, "Oh shit, I almost went." But if you ever go, man, let me know. I'll probably pop up and go to the beach. And
I was just about to say that October 1st, I will be wrestling in Atlantic City.
Here we go.
Oh, we out, Carlton. We out.
Yeah.
I'm a giant wrestling fan, me and Carlton. So.
Yep.
Yep. So October 1st, it's Pro Wrestling After Dark. It's a promotion I've been wanting to work for a long time. The show got announced in like March. And I DM'd the promoter. I was like, "Hey, Chad, I would love to be a part of this show. Like, is it possible?" He was like, "Yeah, I would love to have you." I was like, "Yes."
That's what's up.
We have to hustle for our bookings too. Like, until you reach a point where you know you're a draw, where promoters are like in your inbox, like, "Hey, I want you for this show." Until you reach that point in your career, like you have to reach out to promoters like, "Hey, this is my name. This is where I train. I've got some matches. If you want to take a look, I love to work for your promotion if that's possible." So, you know, every booking we have to hustle for.
I hear that. Listen, we in the same boat because we can relate. You know, we ain't making money off this podcast, but we just making it and trying to hustle as much as we can to make it to the next level. But yeah, we got
similar schedules.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Spravy on that time too. You talk about we be trying to get him to sit down on a fucking day. We can't even get that shit to go until we know he good. He be like, "All right, nigga, you available?" Nah, but yeah, we could definitely relate. Respect that. But we definitely gonna do another podcast about wrestling one day. And we definitely gonna make sure you are there for that one because
where I'm on time.
Yeah, either way, listen. Our time is your time when you the guest. Listen, our time is your time when you the guest, man.
Yep.
So just know whenever you free, let us know. We record, or when Sprat free too. You know what I'm saying? Let me stop. So before we go back to opening up the conversation, just wanted to get back into the next question. Ikeem already answered this, but we want to know your experience of like when and how did you know about you being homosexual, and just if I don't even know if I said that right, I'm sorry if I sound disrespectful.
I'm like, whoa, yeah. Damn, the H word.
Yeah, listen, my fault. You see, again, and I know Sprat had a lot of worries about this, but I'm letting him know, listen, this is why you want to ask people that we know, and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a dickhead trying to be a dickhead. I'm just ignorant, and this is why y'all here to correct us if y'all need to.
That's the politically correct term.
What's the
homosexual? That's a politically correct term. Like, nobody fucking says that. It's just
thanks for telling us.
You see what I'm saying? You don't know.
Says
and this is why we need these conversations, because it never these shits this is never had amongst people, and Ikeem kind of brought this up amongst the this division between black people and the gay community, and we're gonna get into that a little later. But can you let us know, when and how you knew you was gay? Is that sounds more better? That sounds better.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. My bad. Go ahead.
Like when I knew.
Just tell us the experience. You when did you feel it before you really knew, and exactly when you knew? Just let us know that experience, the whole journey, I guess.
Sorry for the background, but this is what happens when you live downtown.
You
It's
Gucci.
all the time. I started thinking about boys when I was probably 6 or 7. That was just thinking, oh, he's cute. I want to kiss him, whatever. Knew and started acting on it. I was probably 12. Yeah, probably 12. Unfortunately, the feelings when I was 6 or 7 that wasn't voluntary. Unfortunately, I sadly, like a lot of people, was taken advantage of by a family member when I was just 6 years old. Uh,
Sorry to hear that.
so I think, yeah, thank you. I think that's what led to it because I never thought about boys before, never. Um, and what I didn't realize until probably about a year ago, I was also molested by a girl around the same time.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they say when you go through childhood trauma, you kind of block it out, your mind makes you forget it, and I had suppressed that for a very long time. So yeah, I was molested by a girl too around the same time. She was a few years older than me. She was probably 8, and I was 6. Um, it's just heartbreaking now that I think about it because I'm like, what fucking guy was doing that to her? Because that stuff is it's a chain, it's you started with one person and then they started with another person. So that breaks my heart because I'm thinking damn, she was just 8 years old. What male in her family was doing that to her that she then in turn, wound up being that person. That's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother podcast.
We see what I'm saying. There's a lot of conversations to be had. There's a lot of convos.
Yeah, everything goes way deeper than people realize. So yeah, I first started acting on it, and I think I was 12. I had never shared this story. Oh my god. I lived in Cambria Heights at the time. And y'all know my parents, my dad and my stepmother. So around this time, this is when they had just got together. So this was 2003. I was in 7th grade, and we were at the laundromat. Me and my stepmother were at the laundromat, and I walked to the store, and I walked past this guy, and well, y'all sound like this is the real podcast, so I'm gonna just keep it real. We looked at each other, and I said, "You got a big dick?" And he said, "Yeah, you want to see it?" And then sucked the guy's dick at 12 years old. Come to find out later, he was 17. Oh, wow. Yeah, but I think that's a podcast for another day as well because, in the LGBT community, especially for Black people, we don't really have anyone to guide us to be you don't do this, you don't do that. This is how you handle yourself in the streets. So I had no guidance. So I was just out there ooh. I mean, I wasn't wilding like that, but, I had to figure things out on my own. And, we're all the same age. So, 2003, we didn't have the internet like that. Nobody was really openly gay like that. And there was just really nobody you could really talk to. It was just figure it out.
Yeah, that's wild. I know what you mean. That's crazy, man.
I actually have a relate to.
Say it again, Ikeem.
Say that again.
Oh, I said there was really no one for us to look up to, relate to, talk to. We just had to kind of figure that out.
So,
Mm.
yeah, Ikeem definitely. He was saying how he didn't have support from his family, like that. Was it the same thing for you, Anthony?
Oh my God, it was awful. I'll never forget the day my dad found out. So from second through eighth grade, I had been in Catholic school. So, but my school closed down in seventh grade. So I moved to the Bronx and I went to Catholic school on Gun Hill. Um, and I had a journal for the first time. And this is why I don't do new friends. So I had a girl at the time, I assume was my friend, and she was like reading my journal, which is fine because that's what we did at that time. I went to the bathroom. I came back from the bathroom and everyone was looking at me when I came in. I was like, what happened? And they said, Gabrielle gave Mr. Wright your journal. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I asked people what happened. They
Wow.
said, Gabrielle, what are you reading? And she's like, she literally just handed it to him. Like, oh, this is what I'm reading. I'm like, bitch, you ain't try to hide it. You ain't try to switch books. Like, what? So he took it to our principal, who was Sister Letitia. So, mind you, all my teachers were Jamaican. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I had like this monster crush on this boy in our class. And he gave my journal to Sister. And Sister not only called my parents, but she called his. And I'm like, what?
What kind of friend?
Yeah. So that's why like I don't do friends. Like you're either my best friend or you're just somebody I'm cool with. Cause you gotta prove yourself to me. Like that was like the most disloyal shit ever. I was 14 at the time. I'm about to be 31. So 17 years later, I'm still very scarred by that. Like that was a betrayal. I think that hurt worse than being cheated on by my damn husband. Like
Mm.
like you outed me to everybody. And at the time I was still dating girls.
So you wasn't ready.
So I wasn't like in the closet or anything. I was
Yeah.
I was like very openly bisexual
Okay.
in eighth grade. So it wasn't like, oh my God, people are gonna find out. I didn't care about that. I cared about the fact that my father didn't know. So
Gotcha.
they told my father. My father was he said, go get in the car. And it was me, him, and my stepmother in the car, and we drove, and it was nighttime, and all I saw was water. And I'm like, oh my God, this nigga's gonna kill me and throw me in the fucking ocean. Because my father is like, think of like, well, y'all know my father, so I don't even
Yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah,
describe
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Like, y'all
Mm-hmm.
know my father, so y'all know my father is like a street nigga through and through. So I'm like, this
Y'all ain't
nigga is
gonna
going
lie.
to
Every time I
murder
saw
me.
him, my fault. This is a little off topic, but every time I saw him, this nigga, he looked like this NBA player. I think his name was Mike James. I was like, yo, why
You
he look
do,
like
okay.
Mike James, bro? I'm sorry. That's all. I remember your
No,
father. That's what I remember. You said
but
you said
I
your
think
father.
you could
Yeah.
understand the fear. I'm just 14, and I'm like, this nigga's gonna murder me and dump me in the ocean, and this bitch is gonna be his fucking accomplice because she's here quiet. Um, but long story short, he was sending me to my aunt Teresa's house in Far Rockaway. Um, she's an evangelist, so it was like around Christmas time. So he pretty much sent me to my aunt Teresa's house for a few days, I guess, so he could process it on his own, which I kind of commend him for. Um, but yeah, that's how that happened. And then when we finally got back home, um, he was like, what happened? Why are you like this?" And I think that was the first time I had ever told anyone that I had been molested by my cousin when I was 6. And I think besides at my mother's funeral, that was up until that point, that was the only other time I had seen my father cry. And he said because he felt like he didn't protect me and like he should have been there. But from there, my father, it's been like people, it's okay for people to know who you are, but they don't need to know your business. So I didn't want to go to Eagle. And that's the funny thing. Everyone thinks like an all boys school, like, oh my God, you would have been having. I'm like, no, I didn't want to go to Eagle. I was supposed to go to LGJ.
Holy cow. That's crazy.
But
I applied to both.
You know, I didn't have that luxury. It was my father is the worst procrastinator in the world. I would tell him every day, Daddy, I have to go register for high school. Daddy, I have to go register for high school. Daddy, I have to go register for high school. So he waited until the last minute. And then they're like, unfortunately, all the seats in LGJ are full. But there's a new school on the 4th floor. It's called Eagle Academy. It's an all boys school. I said no. And they said, wait. What you can do is you can go there for a year and then you can transfer to LGJ. So we were like, okay, whatever. That's how I wound up in Eagle. Freshman year was
funny
great.
enough. My dad made me go to Eagle too because I was supposed to go to Mary Bertram, and then he convinced me to go to Eagle. That's all the way in the city. It's like all the way low.
Oh yeah. I know that school.
The Lower East Side. It's just man, it's crazy how like again I was just like we all kind of just happen, right? Yeah, exactly. We all just end up at Eagle.
So that's how I ended up at Eagle. But yeah, I didn't have.
Before we get to the Eagle story, a question that I asked Ikeem was, how much did culture plays a fact into whether how our parents' perspective on homosexuality? So we know your father is Jamaican. What about your stepmother?
My stepmother didn't care. I actually told her first. I told her before my father even knew. We were coming home one day.
And what was the time difference?
Probably a few months.
She knew.
Probably a few months. I was like, Christy, I think I'm gay. And she was like, Are you sure? And I was like, yeah. But you have to remember, this was 2003, so we didn't know. We weren't educated like we are now, because I think in our culture, as a man, you're not allowed to identify as bisexual. If you even touch a man, you gay.
Yes.
So
at that time, that is
bisexual.
True.
I didn't know that I could identify as bisexual at the time, because y'all know, like, I dated girls when I was an Eagle. Like, well, it was one girl when I was an Eagle. But yeah, so my stepmother was, I think at the time she was like 23. Oh, disgusting. But I think that helped because she was closer to my age. So I think it was probably a bit more common. Not more common for her, but she was just from a different generation from my father.
She had things more relatable to you and your mindset and stuff than she would.
Yes. Yeah, so with her, it was like never anything different. Our issues were like completely separate from that, but she never treated me any differently, and I appreciate her for that. I think for my dad, he never treated me differently either. If I'm gonna be very honest, he was just very protective. Like if I would go to a friend's house, he would be like, "Who's over there?" or "Who is this?" But it wasn't. I don't even think it was necessarily because I was gay. I think it was because of, y'all know I lived right by the school, so I didn't even realize that was such a rough neighborhood. Cause I grew up sheltered, so I didn't even realize like, oh, I'm in the hood. So I think it was more so him wanting me to not be around the wrong crowd. But no, like if I asked for something, I got it. If I said this is what I want for Christmas, I would get everything that was on my list. Yeah, like I think that was just something my father didn't know how to handle, and I felt like he didn't want to, act on it, his homophobia, but I felt like if he didn't, I feel like he felt that if he didn't show some type of negativity towards it, then that meant that he accepted it. And I don't think he wanted to be known as the guy who accepted the fact that his son was gay.
Yeah, I think a part
That's
of
deep.
yeah, I think a part of the problem for everybody is just it's that perception and what other people think. I think that's always gonna be the case. And this kind of leads on to the next question. Because we all grew up in New York City, and again, like you said, Anthony, we all went to school together, and we know how it was. You know what I'm saying? We saw it come from everybody going into all boys schools. We definitely saw how it was, just like the judgment, the name picking, how people were treated, and then a lot of people were scared to say something if they were or. And I think even Ikeem said earlier, like, one y'all said it definitely was like it was no you can't be bi. It's either you straight or you gay. Like if if you're a man, you straight or gay. So how was it for both of y'all growing up in a city and just experiencing that, how was it for both of y'all? Hakeem, I guess you've been quiet for a minute. You could start off.
Yeah. I went on for a while.
No, you're good.
I guess for me, living in the city, it's the perception you want to kind of be accepted. So most of us live in or close to the hood or whatever that looks like. So you kind of want to be accepted by who's ever around you. So growing up, I definitely played the street part.
Hakeem,
So I tried.
preach, please preach.
I definitely tried to act more masculine, even though a lot of the dudes kind of knew, and for whatever reason they insisted I was. Like they told me I was gay before I knew I was gay, before I came out. And then when I did come out, of course, now no one wants to associate yourself with me because that's not like I guess the manly thing to do or whatever that looks like. So it's that aspect. And then I guess in high school was kind of like the similar thing, where it was this one guy who was openly gay, and then he got outed because he made a sex tape that the whole school found out about.
That's crazy.
And of course, he had to leave the school and all that stuff. And from there, it kind of scarred me because, like, wow, like I don't even know necessarily what I kind of want to do. That's why I kind of waited till I graduated from high school to even indulge and really learn about myself, kind of thing. But throughout high school, everyone kind of always assumed and tried to make judgments or try to press on me to see if I was gonna actually take the bait. And I'm like, that's weird. You can't really be straight if you're acting like this, knowing that I know your girlfriend or XYZ.
What high school did you go to?
BLA.
Bronx Leadership Academy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
They were on my list too.
Yeah, word. I'm like, wow. I remember that school. I almost went there. That was a specialized school, was it?
I think it was before I got there.
Okay.
Like they really had like a law class and stuff like that. But when I got there was no law class.
Oh wait, is that when we took the test, they had like that big pamphlet and you bubbled in the high schools of your choice? Do we have to do it? We had to do it like that, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they gave us a whole it looked like a yellow book.
I got a
page
book.
of fucking high school. High schools you had to choose from.
The book of high schools. The book of high schools.
The boroughs were different.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that.
Exactly.
That's all new. That's all new to me. I
For
never
real?
had to do that.
Holy
no,
cow!
bro. I went to middle school.
That shit was like the yellow pages.
They made it seem like, what high school you choose is going to be the high school that changes your life forever.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had to go to our guidance counselor and get the book of high schools, and they gave us like it was like a Scantron pamphlet of like multiple pages, and I think you had to choose 10 schools, and
Yeah,
Yeah, something
10.
like that.
yeah, you had to bubble in your 10 schools, and you had to mail it in, and they sent you a letter back letting you know whether or not you were accepted or if you had to take an exam for that school or something. Damn, we old.
Yeah, no. I was just
But I don't
thinking
recall
about
doing
it.
that.
We probably went too far from each other. I gotta see the location because, our school was in the Bronx too. Our high school was in the Bronx. Myron, you went to school more uptown Bronx, right?
yeah, more uptown, but I went to Catholic school, so I had a sponsor and all that stuff. That's why I'm saying it was different. Like I
You
had
had
to
to
pick
take
my
a test
schools.
and everything too, right?
Nope, I
What?
didn't take a test or anything, bro. That's what I'm telling you. So in middle school, I went to middle school, Catholic school, all boys school,
Oh, okay.
and they gave me a
Okay.
list of Catholic high schools, and I pick them, and I get because I got a sponsor to get into the school and all that stuff, and I would do the same thing. And like I think I write a letter and wait to get accepted, and if I got accepted, that's when I pick and choose where I go to. I didn't have to do the Scantron or the big book thing.
Yeah, you definitely
That
had
was the
to
first
do-
time I ever heard that.
I think you had to do some placement tests. It's like
Carson,
depending on your grade, which
Carson, you
schools could go
applied
to in
to
Catholics.
LGJ?
I think I did because my cousin went there and I knew Mr. Banks because of it. My whole my family, my cousin, my aunt, they had close relationships. So yeah, LGJ was there. Eagle was there. BLA was there for sure. But I got accepted to Mary Bertram out of all of that, and then my pops kind of convinced me to transfer to Eagle.
I actually had to do both because I was coming from Catholic school. So we had 3 choices, and I had got accepted. What was it? We was by Cardinal Hayes. It was all Hallows, right?
Oh, Harlow's, yeah.
yeah.
Those are the RSS. I know all those schools, bro. I had a friend that go all those schools. I had a Cardinal Hayes.
And I think it was the third one. It was by Castle Hill. I forgot what that school
St.
is.
Raymond's.
St. Raymond's, yeah. So I'd applied to St. Raymond's, Cardinal Hayes, and All Hallows. My father did not want me to go to St. Raymond's. He did before, but I think now that he knew, I don't know if it's because I was gay or not, but he didn't want me traveling to Castle Hill. So he was like, no. So I got accepted to St.
I already figured that the minute you said that.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, because part of me applying for St. Raymond, I'm like, damn, it's niggas out there. So my father's always one step ahead, bro. Like, he's always one step ahead.
That's what
It's
Steph
funny.
went, Carson.
It's funny you bring that up because being in Catholic school, all those schools you just named had a stigma for being gay and all that stuff. I used to hear stories coming out of those schools. I was in so middle school I was an all boys school, so I definitely wanted to go to a co-ed school because I'm like, okay, I'm tired of being just in a boys class. But one of the options I had to go, I think I could have gone to Cardinal Hayes, but I used to hear so many things about crazy stuff that was going on at the time there. Oh, so all the boys school, all the Catholic all boys schools were some wild trip from what I heard.
Yeah, everybody from my graduating class in 8th grade, the majority of them were going to Spelman.
Yeah, Spelman was another one on my list.
Even my girlfriend at the time, we had broken up because she was going to. Remember, I went to school by Gun Hill, and Spelman is around there,
right?
So,
yep.
Yep. So she was going to Spelman, and I knew that I was going to stay in the South Bronx, and we both Scorpios. So I was like, you know what, baby, I know you need to get fucked, and I know I'm gonna need something. So let's just break up. We were best friends before. We gonna be best friends now, and I'm her son's godfather.
That's crazy.
We have an amazing relationship. It was like, okay,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
we gonna be far apart. We ain't gonna be able to see each other. I don't think my father liked her. And I'm like, y'all niggas is goofy. I'm dating a girl and you don't like her? What the fuck?
Yeah, I ain't gonna complain, right? And then no.
No, this is before I was out.
Okay.
But I dated a girl in 9th grade, and he was always acting, yeah, yo, how's Catherine? How's she doing?
Yeah.
Niggas weird. But yeah, I hated the all boys aspect. because I have a lot of girls in my family. So I'm like, I don't know what it's like to be around boys all day. And I'm like, I played basketball, but I'm like, that was probably the most boyish thing I did. Besides that, like, I have nothing in common. Oh, and video games.
And whipping someone's
That
ass. Whipping someone's
No, don't do that.
ass.
Don't do
Say it again?
Nah, I said you had another thing in common, whipping someone's ass, but we ain't gonna get into details on that one.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that'll come up in a later part of this conversation, or maybe the next one.
Maybe.
Personally, there, but
Nah,
I think people forget that we're men at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like,
people do
we're still men.
Preach on that.
Crazy.
Like, the surface is different, but the surface you may get something different, but it's still a nigga under all this. Like, don't get it twisted. And
that should be quoted. Honestly, I learned that because again, this is all experience to me. Just like I'm straight, but I always respected someone else's decisions, regardless if I understood it. But like when you see things, you know what I'm saying, like you said, whipping someone's ass, something like that, you're like, as a man, that nigga gonna fuck you up. Like you keep on fucking around. Like don't think only because and obviously and I think it was good that work had me build a lot of relationships with people, and because you have to. And this is even before I met you, Ikeem. When I was still just a CSA in that job, and just working with a lot of people, I seen a lot of things. This dude, I seen a lot of transition. I seen this dude that he was gay, and he had a boyfriend and everything, and then he started dating this one dude. Now he started wearing wigs and stuff and shit like that, and he just he was going through his own transition, but at the same time he had to fight and whip somebody's ass. And I said, oh shit, you know what I mean? I'm like, man, you don't judge nobody.
Can I talk on that really quick? Because I think that's another point about the gay lifestyle that people don't understand. Oh shit, and this kind of ties into, okay, I'm gonna try to tie it all in together. In terms of school. So when I was in between fourth, fifth, and a little bit of sixth grade, I was called faggot in school. Yeah, and I went to a Catholic school. I was called faggot up until puberty, because I had a very soft voice. So then puberty came, and that's when all the girls was, I don't want to say how you doing, but all the girls started looking at me different. I think they started looking at me finally. So
that part.
Yeah, and it was weird because I'm like, we're all still friends now. 20 years later, we're all still friends, which is amazing. But then I went to...
Wait, quick comment. Maybe that's why I didn't get any looks in middle school, because I still had a high-pitched ass voice.
Yeah, no, you had that shit coming into high school, bro.
I've had it my entire life. I still have it.
Rodney, I remember when your voice finally broke. And I think when your voice broke, you dropped the glasses.
That shit was funny. Nigga started working out and shit. Like, who's this guy? That shit was funny. Now you came in, you was looking a little frail, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. You had the glasses. You was really scrawny.
Nah, you looked like a turtle. You looked like a turtle. You had the glasses, the voice.
Yo.
Myra, you hear all this? And I'm still giving niggas 30 in gym. What are they talking about?
Yeah, you was. I'm gonna give you that. You was.
Who was he giving 30 in gym? I don't know. I mean, we was on the same
Carlton,
team.
Carlton, we're not gonna get into that, Carlton. We ain't gonna get into that right now. That'll be a whole.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is this: I got credentials when it comes to basketball. Well, that's another topic for another day.
But it's funny.
But back to your story.
Because I went to, remember I said my school closed in seventh, and at the end of seventh grade, I went to school in Queens. Then I went to school in the Bronx. Everybody in my class was fucking, and that was very new to me. because coming from Queens, I think because some of us lived in the hood, some of us lived like in the upper hood, so to speak. So we were all kind of sheltered in a kind of way. So none of us was really fucking like that. But I come to 8th grade in the Bronx, everybody in my class is fucking, and I'm like, but I felt at home because I could literally just be myself, and the girls loved me because I think I was just myself. And it's funny because when if you see like a black woman with a man that is not the most masculine, and people were like, oh, he got a little sugar in his tank, he a little sweet. But y'all don't realize that woman loves him because he embraces who he is and he wears out with confidence. Like, I'm not the most masculine man, but this is who I am and I love it. And women love a confident man.
True.
And that's what I've noticed. So I think that's why like a lot of the girls like gravitated towards me, because I was just like, I am who I am. I'm in an environment that accepts me, and that was cool. And then going to high school, I never had that problem. Like, I never had an issue with anybody regarding my sexuality. I think because for probably the first time in a lot of people's lives, I showed that, yes, I'm gay, but I've never even fucking looked at you, and I don't want to fucking look at you.
Yeah, from what I
Yeah,
remember, if anybody even
he
tried to
said that
test you,
directly to a lot of people.
yeah, like you definitely came off like, don't fuck with me, like I ain't fucking with you, like what's wrong with you type shit. Like you let it be known. I think you was like probably one of the only people who was acceptable, versus others who like will deny it in a way and get bashed for it because everyone's trying to figure out, everyone wants to know, everyone wants you to say it, and just be like, but you were kind of like, so the fuck what? Say the fuck away from me, like
Yeah, I think it's because they didn't have that
I think you paved the way for a lot of people there. I think you paved the way.
And I did.
And sorry to cut you off.
I did.
But I'm pretty sure you know what I'm
horn.
headed. I'm pretty sure you know where I'm headed.
I
Carson
don't.
does. Ninth grade, you did something very brave that no one in that school probably did all 4 years. Do you remember what you did?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, what did I do?
You stood up in the lunchroom.
What happened?
Just tell the story, bro. Go ahead.
You don't remember
You don't
this?
remember.
No.
I remember it was nice. So, the people that's listening, Carlton, myself, Anthony, we all went to the same high school, an all boys high school. Yes, it's a stigmatism when you go to an all boy high school coming from the areas we come from. Everyone pretty much knows that. And, I'm pretty sure you've gotten looks in ninth grade and people whispering under their breaths and whatnot. And I remember in ninth grade, you just like stood up in the lunchroom and you just like made this speech saying like, if anybody has a problem with me, you basically acknowledged that you were gay and that if anybody got a problem with you, basically that they should address you directly. You don't remember that? Because I do. Because I was just like, oh shit, like
No.
that takes
Oh,
a
God.
lot
I
of
don't remember that either.
I remember that.
That's super brave.
I'm like,
I think I remember. Oh, wow.
he did it in ninth grade, and I'm like, this is why he in my head, I was like, this is why he was never really picked on in high school.
And everybody was looking at me like, oh shit.
Right. I remember that shit clearly.
Was it like the first few weeks when I wasn't there?
It probably was. It probably was.
I
This
think
was
the
very
only
early on.
because at that time, I was a big reader, so I was just always like to myself until I could find my groove, and that's when I met Ryan. Ryan was my first friend because we just kind of were like both loners, but I had seen the looks, I had heard like the little side comments, and it had pissed me off because I'm like, listen, I'm not what y'all think I am. Like, and I loved school. Like, I loved learning. I'm like, I'm here to learn. Like, I don't give a fuck about any one of y'all in that way whatsoever. So I think that's really what it was. I just wanted people, and I was tired of being judged. Like my father thought I was one way. People thinking this. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be here for 4 fucking years. But yeah, I only one person said something to me, and that was our junior year, and it was a freshman. I'll never forget it. And we was
Fucking
in the
villains.
hallway, and I was like walking by something, and he had said faggot, and it was another upperclassman. I think it was a sophomore, and they said, "Yo, Frank, you don't want that problem." And he said, "Nah, fuck that." And I looked at, I walked up to him. I said, "Little boy, I will dog walk you from this corner to the other fucking corner of the
That
hallway.
is definitely
Don't
Anthony.
do it." I said, "Don't do it." And there were people coming up to him. They was like, "Yo, Frank, walk away." And he just walked away. And it was surreal for me because I had never really ever been respected anywhere. So having that respect from the people around me in the school, I was just like that meant the world to me because I stood up for myself and that's all I knew how to do. Like I didn't have my mother anymore. So I'm like, it's just me against the fucking world. So what up?
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, all right. Yeah, yeah, this conversation is going along that I expected. Let's transition over before we go back into open because we getting some good stuff. But I want to know how it is for both you guys. Let's start back with Ikeem, man. Ikeem, I know I always you feel like you get to be laid back and shit, but we know you still here. For the corporate world, I know as being a sister store manager, we both went through the same process on on getting there. So you definitely was able to tap into the corporate world for sure. You want to tell us that experience, as being gay and like how people treat you, and like you want to let us know how it is in that world.
I guess for me, I probably was judged or am judged for it, but I don't ever let it affect me. I never really let it, or I never give them that power for them to say what they want to say or treat me how they want to how they want to treat me. So I just do what I need to do, and then that's about it. Like I get the side look, so I get the, oh, you're in charge, yeah, I'm in charge. So what's up? Like, how can I help you? Kind of thing. So I never really ever let that affect me because
He
once I
said, "I
do,
got the power." That's what.
I feel like I'm giving them the power to dictate how I feel about myself,
You're
and I
talking
could just
about your
never
employees, right?
the employees, and then just the customers or just the higher ups or whatever that looks like. Customers, they never really tried me per se. I think it's the employees definitely going from different store to different store. So then they have to learn you, and then they get a realization of what it is, kind of thing.
What about the big wigs? When you see them, how they are they?
Oh, the big boys,
You know,
they
them suits, them suits. You know what I'm talking
yeah.
about.
I guess they come to a point where it is what it is, kind of thing. Like I never had like a awkward look or an awkward situation with them. They kind of either get it or they don't get it, and kind of go from there. So I haven't really had a bad experience per se in terms of like the corporate world or in terms of work. I think it's just the employees just learning me and accepting or not accepting, up to you. But
At
it's
the end
either
of
you're
the
gonna
day,
do
I'll
this job or not.
fire ass. Exactly. If you don't respect this, then guess what? Get the fuck out. Yeah, it's good to have some power. I ain't gonna hold you.
Get them all fired, King.
Because I definitely had this one employee who I definitely feel like has a problem or an issue with what it is and who I am, and he's realizing now that I'm not I'm not playing with you. You're gonna either do this job, you're gonna come to work, or you're not gonna have a job. Because what we're not gonna do is go back and forth. What we're not gonna do is you're not gonna play with me, and that's kind of it. But to kind of piggyback off of what Theo said about um, getting respect in the hood type thing, like having to not to fight your way out sometimes. I never necessarily been called faggot until I would say was my 22nd birthday, and I was in a club in the city, and the gentleman was speaking to my friend who was a lesbian. He was trying to dance at first. This time, I thought he was being mad thirsty, and he felt the type of way that I started dancing with her. So then, like at the end of the night, when it's coat check time, getting your coat and all that stuff, he decided to press me and look my way and call me faggot. And that was M. I just seen black.
So you beat his ass, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Let him know.
Mm-mm. I beat his ass and that was kind of it. Just like growing up, niggas in the hood were trying to test me. I guess to benefit me because they knew I was gay, but they didn't accept it. But they wanted to still knew I had hands, so I knew how to defend myself. So I guess giving them a thumbs up for that per se. But niggas in the hood knew not to test me. One, because of my brother. Two, because they already knew what it was. Like, you can say what you want to say. You can look at me how you want to look at me. You can talk to me or not talk to me. But know that all your friends and all your girlfriends is going to be talking to me. And know that once you press me, that's it. Like, once you press me, game's over. And sad to say is a lot of the straight men are ashamed to get their ass beat by a gay man. Like they always want to fight one because they feel like,
Right.
oh, I'm gonna beat the guy out of him, or I'm gonna show him what's up, or you're not about that life, so I'm about to show you. And then when you get your ass beat, then you're the one looking stupid. You're the one looking dumb because now you got your ass beat by quote unquote a faggot, like you said.
That portion is very double sided because they're fighting a man, but when they lose, you lost to a girl.
No.
Right.
Well, yeah. In a way where they feel like it's, well, in the feminine standpoint, but nah.
In their mind.
One thing I'm learning about these stories, a nigga from the hood is a nigga from the hood, so you better watch out. If you fuck with him, you fuck with a nigga from the hood. You know, don't think it's gonna be easy. Gonna fuck you up. Let me say.
I got a question because we're all the same age, same era. You know, we've all either used or heard the word faggot. So I have a two-part question. What are words and terms that the two of you feel offended by? And when you first was called the word faggot, how did you feel?
I think he just told us. He went black.
I guess for me, I never paid attention to words per se, but I knew that faggot, at least for me, like I never internalized the word, so I never really gave it life until that moment. But after that, I never give it life, or I just don't hear it. Like you can say it, but I just never hear it, kind of thing. So, but I internalize that to equate to nigger. Like for me, like when you call a gay man a faggot, I feel like that's like the lowest you can ever call someone. Besides being called a nigger for a black person and a bitch for a woman,
Yeah.
and I guess a spick for a Spanish person. So
Just
like
the lowest derogatory name you could call somebody.
right, but then like once you don't give a life, it doesn't give them that power to feel like they really did something. Okay, you call me faggot, now what? Like what else do you have to say? What is your next step?
Right.
Nothing. So you call me a faggot, you got your feelings, you got upset, but I'm still here. And I'm still living my
How
life,
about
whether you like it or not.
how about you, Ant?
I would say so. The F word, I don't like the F word. I find that very offensive. I do say it sometimes, but I feel like I can say it.
It's
Mm.
like having a black pass, like a black person could say nigga, but
Exactly,
no one else
exactly.
good.
But I say it for a specific reason because I feel like, okay, there's gay, and then there's sometimes it's like, you know what, you did some faggot shit. So I have to. That's just me. So Hakeem, if I'm offending you, I apologize. But I
No, no, not
believe
at all.
there's, being a gay person, being who you are, and living in your truth, and then doing some faggot shit. Some faggot shit is walking into a room and start, flirting with guys. That's some faggot shit. Because now you're making people uncomfortable. You're not respecting people's boundaries, and you're being messy. That's not cool. That's not who we are as a
Mm.
community.
I see what you're saying.
Mm.
It's like
Yep.
it's like when black
Wow.
people are being embarrassed by you being mad ratchet. You're like, come on, bro. Like you giving us a bad
Exactly. Like,
name.
you're doing nigga shit. Like, we don't all act like that. Like, don't do that.
Right. And
So
I
that's the
think
only time I will use that word to describe faggot shit.
I
I
get where you're
respect
coming from.
that.
I would just kind of call it like bullshit. I wouldn't necessarily call it that, but that's an interesting, I guess, correlation to it.
Yeah, because when I was growing up, like, I was called that word for a long time. So I think for me, I had to take my power back when it comes
Hmm.
to that word. So I'm like, I think when people say that, that's because they have a specific depiction or picture in their mind of what a gay person is and what a gay person does. So that would, and I guess you could say that would be the stereotypical when you think of a gay guy, this is what it looks like.
Can you repeat that? Can you say that again? Because
Oh, and I
that's
was
some
saying,
truth.
I feel like, the other community, straight people, they have in their mind what they think gay people are and what gay people act like. But just like every other orientation, we're so multifaceted that each and every one of us is different. But there are some people that literally do meet that stereotypical what you think a gay person is when you look them up in the dictionary.
Hmm.
The other word that I don't like is dyke. Hate that word. Like, that actually like makes me hate the word dyke. And I think that's it for me in terms of words.
Do you know what a dyke is?
That's like lesbian, right?
that was the next question I was gonna ask. Why is the term dyke used? What do you think
Because
the ignorant people who use the word dyke, what is the word they should use, if any word?
so I have to be honest. I can give my opinion. So my opinion is maybe just say a lesbian.
Yeah.
And in the hood we use the term stud.
Or
But
AG?
AG, I heard
yeah,
AG a lot.
I heard AG. Yeah.
I be like,
but
damn.
to be
Even then, that
real,
sounds like
yeah, but that stands AG stands for aggressive.
aggressive. Yeah,
So,
exactly. Like you tell,
which is like,
that's like beyond lesbian. That's like you're like the man of that relationship, basically.
but that's why I say I call that my opinion because I don't think that is a question that I, as a man, should be answering
Understood.
Mm.
because I shouldn't be telling people how to address someone else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a conversation to have with a stud. Like, what would you like people to call you or refer to you as? And
That's
I don't think
100%.
me as a man should be answering that question. I
Respect
can
that.
still give my opinion, but I shouldn't be with the one to be like, oh, this is what you say.
What about you, Akeem? I know you was about to say something as well, right?
Um, I just feel like yeah, I don't necessarily know what the right term would be to call them. Just, I guess, a lesbian or aggressive female. But
I
it
would
would
just
be up
call them
to,
lesbian. I think I'll just keep it simple. Like,
yeah, it would just be
yeah,
up to, like they said, to that person or what they would want to be named or
yeah.
categorized as.
Actually, because I had conversations with some lesbians and they do identify like, I think within that lesbian community identify certain girls as AGs or something like that. I never heard another girl call another girl dyke though. That might be like just another insult, just as faggot would be. But as far as that,
Yeah,
just a lesbian, and again, that's more a conversation we would have to have with a woman who's attracted to women, who has relationships like that.
And
Um,
the reason why I don't like that word dyke is because it's always said with contempt. Like the
Mm.
tone of the person's voice. So it was so funny because at the beginning of this conversation, I was going to reference Mean Girls when Carlton has said homosexual. And there was like a scene in the beginning with the rednecks, and these little kids was like, and the homosexuals.
that
But
sound like a
now
fucking
I'm like, I have another Mean Girls reference
Yeah, I
because
love
when they
Mean
were
Girls.
talking about Janice, what's the name? She said, dyke. And she said it with like such contempt in her
Yeah,
voice. And I'm
nigger.
like,
Yeah,
that's real. Like, it's never meant as a term of endearment. It's meant to like literally tear you
insult.
down. It's
Yeah,
like calling a white person calling a black person a nigger.
I understand that. Do y'all have any more questions? Actually, I don't think you answered this, Anthony. So on Theo Ivory in the wrestling world, I see that you post sometimes, pictures of you and some buddies. I forgot who's in this is like Sonya something that's in AEW, right?
Sonny Kid.
Sonny Kiss in AEW. I think I saw you had posted a picture with him. I like it's a group and
Oh, that's
stuff.
my baby.
Yeah, it seemed like you have a really close knit community within the wrestling community. You want to talk about how it is there?
Yeah. Hold on. Thank you. Sorry. Buy me something to drink.
No
Um,
diggity.
so a reason why I got my times mixed up today is because my brain has just been all over the fucking place since Daphne died. Like,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I just saw about that
um,
this morning. Actually, read about it. Actually.
so like for me personally, that was very traumatizing because I lost two friends to suicide. Um, the most recent one was a few months ago. And both times nobody knew. It's like, like, oh yeah, they were, sad or whatever, but everybody's fucking sad. You don't think they're gonna fucking kill themselves. But with her, not everyone saw it, but some of us saw the video. She went on IG Live. She had the gun and she was like, I'm alone. Like, don't you get it? And that's what sparked, like, hey, we got to get the police over there. We got to get the police over there. So, like, I was very traumatized by that because it's very rare you see the call for help before it happens. So, to actually see the call for help and know that we weren't able to get there in time, like, I was just devastated. Like, I was like crying Thursday because in this business, the part that sucks is a lot of us are alone. Like, I wanted to be a wrestler since I was 10. And I remember my grandmother laughed at me. Um, a lot of family members laughed at me. I remember my Aunt Tanya and my cousin Dre, they were the only two that supported me. They were like, oh, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. Like, you can do it. Um, and a lot of us go through that same thing. Like, our family doesn't support us. They don't come to shows. They don't buy merch. Um, it's literally like you just stopped existing. And it
Mhm.
feels like, wow, like I'm living my dream. I had a dream and I went out and I made it happen. And you really just start to see a lot of true colors in people. Like when you start going after your dreams, you realize the people that start drifting off from you never attempted to achieve theirs. So it's hard for them to support you, and you start to see that. But that's why our community is so close, because nobody understands what it's like for your body to hurt every day. Like there are days where you're like, wait, why does my shoulder hurt? Or why does this hurt? Or very few people can understand what it's like to take 5 full minutes just to roll over in bed because you're in that much pain from, training or the bumps. So our lifestyle, it's so crazy. And just like I said, like how during the whole week I'm on go. I gotta go to my shoot job, then I gotta go to training. Then the weekends come and then I have bookings. Like I miss birthdays, I miss weddings, and you miss so many things. And because you never know, what booking or what show is gonna be that opportunity for me to be seen. So it's just really hard. It's rewarding because we're doing what we love and it's our dream. Like it's insane. Watch the video back and like, wow, that's me. But yeah, it's very lonely at times. Very.
That's crazy that you even brought that up. Because I brought that up in the episode, the glass half empty, half full, and we were talking about positivity and negativity, and I was saying how people have the wrong perception on what depression is. They see it as negativity, and people don't understand how, like I said, I think I do remember saying, like, do you really think anyone wants to actually be alone? So like those are like one of the key indicators of like checking up on somebody and stuff like that. And just one thing leads to that depression, especially when you're alone, leads to shit like that. So, but I hear you when it comes to the wrestling community in general, just especially when you're not being supported financially and you have to work harder. And then the only people that understand your struggles are the people that's surrounding you at the moment, doing what you're doing. So I understand. That's
Yeah, and I don't want to, make it seem like all bad, because I definitely have had family pop up, send me a picture with one of my shirts on it. I'm like, oh
that's
shit. So, I definitely don't want to make it seem like it's all negative, because it's not. I definitely have had family, buy a shirt and do that. But I think not only with wrestling, I think because you guys are doing your podcast, some people may be doing music. I think we have our expectations of what we think supporting that looks like.
That's
And
true.
if it doesn't match what our expectations are, then that is another mental issue that we have to deal with, because now we're like, oh, y'all niggas not supporting me.
Yeah, know a little bit of that. One thing I remember my cousin told me before I started this podcast, he was like, just don't expect the whole family to just be on board with your stuff. It's gonna be a road where it's gonna be lonely, and you find the supporters within that community, mostly. So,
But isn't that, how did you feel when he said that? Because my aunt said that to me after I wrote my book, and I was pissed. But 5 years later, I'm like, she was so right.
You know what it is? It's like it's something I expected, because it's something I honestly I just dealt with my whole life, not just with family but with friends too. Just like and when people don't think you're doing well, they they tend to look down on you until success comes, and everybody wants to come around as well. So it's something that I'm like, okay, I knew I'm going into something that not a lot of people are gonna support, because there's a podcast everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So like it's gonna be some type, and plus like we don't have everything there. Like, you know what I'm saying? We still gaining chemistry. We still getting quality equipment. Like, we don't even do video yet. Like, we don't have everything there. So I don't expect everybody's support. I appreciate who does support us and lets me know, like, moving forward, who I would want to partner with and like who I like would want to keep around. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's one of the things that like I expected. I expect to be embarrassed at this because all our shit is not good. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's something that I have the passion for, just like you have the passion for wrestling, and you just do it without hesitation. You take the good with the bad.
Can I tell you something about that really quick, Carlton? You have the perfect mindset. Like, because when we start as independent wrestlers, I guarantee you, you could be wrestling for 5 years and you look back just a few months ago and you're like, ugh. Like, you always have to be constantly evolving. So you have to have something to look back to. Like, I look back on my gear when I
Exactly.
first started. Oh my God. Like, it had a long ass crotch, which any gear maker will tell you, like, that's really bad because it's supposed to be fitted. But it was a long crotch. It kept ripping. It was generic as hell. And then I look at, stuff when I wrestle with my gear now. My gear costs almost $400. And I look at it and I'm like, with my gear on, I look like a fucking star. But then I look at the pictures from a year ago and I'm like, ugh. But I'm like, it's beautiful because I get to see the
That
progression. And I
Yep.
think for you guys, like, literally, when you start getting better equipment, you're going to be like, yo, you hear that clarity? Like, it didn't sound like that last week. So, like, that's the right mindset to have. Just keep building, keep growing, and keep evolving. So you have things to look back and say, look at how far we came.
Started from the bottom, now we no, no, but for real, like that is the mindset for real. You pinpointed right there. We on the same page with that for sure.
But Sprite, is your mother still mean?
She's still same old Jackie, yeah.
I am scared of Miss Jackie. Like, when she used to pull up to the school, I'm like, thank God Rodney was not a bad kid, because she seems like the mother that will beat your ass in the school and dare the teacher to say something.
Imagine. Oh shit.
Yeah, me and Sprite are brothers, and we got the same mother.
That's definitely her. But as far as the evolution, what you guys are speaking on, I mentioned this to Carlton in the past. That's definitely true because I look at myself, and with this conversation, I'm pretty sure Anthony's gonna know who I'm referring to. So we went to school with two people that I didn't know. Well, one person specifically, I didn't know what their preference was, and it took me waiting until everyone graduated from high school and being in college, and then coming home from breaks, and then meeting up with people during their breaks to be like, why? I'm like, was I not mature enough back then for them to
I
be
am still
honest and
very
open?
bitter about that. Ugh. Fucking front stealer.
So yeah, you definitely know what I'm talking about. So I'm like,
I
was I
sure
not
do.
mature enough? And I look at myself now. It's just like,
I'm
you know what?
lost right
Maybe I
now.
wasn't the best.
I just don't want to be lost because I feel like, I'm like, wait a minute. Do I know what you're talking about? But yeah.
Or just put a bleep on it. That would be even better.
See, I'm still learning, bro. I don't even know how to fucking put a bleep. I don't know how to put a bleep.
I'll get you the bleep sound. Don't worry about it, bro. I got you.
God, thank you.
But no, I don't think he knew at that time, Rodney. Because that's the thing. I think a lot of people have this mindset of, like when puberty comes, because that's when all your hormones start activating, and that's when and it's like me, I always knew who I was. I knew what I liked. I knew that if I didn't like men, I wouldn't have enjoyed the things that I've done with men. I knew that if I didn't like girls, I wouldn't enjoy the things that I did with girls. So I knew who I was. But some people didn't have those experiences. And he comes across to me as very pure. And I still see that. Like he not innocent. Like he still has an innocence about him. Even as old as we not as old as we are now, but as you know, we're older now, but I can still see that innocence in him. So I think unlike someone like me, I had to figure it out fast because unfortunately someone took that away from me. But when you're allowed to, come to it in your own time, it takes literally your own time and however long that takes to figure out. I knew ahead of time and I told my friend, I was like, he fucking wants you. He's trying to steal you away from me. Oh my God. I hated 10th grade. I hated 10th grade. Oh. And when he got his ass jumped, who was the one that jumped in the middle? Get into it. Get into
Oh no,
it.
you talking about that one situation?
I remember that.
And then this nigga got mad at me. Is that the situation?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
when he got mad, like I didn't step in to stop him or some shit. Like that was.
He got jumped by the basketball
team.
Yeah. Those two little bitches that he dumped me for went in the classroom and closed the door, and I dove in the fucking middle.
Carlton and I was already
niggas.
Carlton and I was already in the class. They ran in. Carlton and I didn't know what the hell was going on. Because at that time, that's when there was a lot of horse playing going on in between the halls. And Carlton and I like, what the fuck are they talking about? So then when we registered it, we're like, wait, you're telling us this and he's getting jumped. That's when Carlton and I are like, all right, let's go. But, that's when everything's...
And y'all were the only ones he had smoke for. I'm like, really? These were the two niggas that was by your side as it happened. And they fucking left you. And here I come like fucking Captain Save-A-Ho jumping in the middle of that shit. Fucking cradling him like, you better not fucking hit him.
Wow. I didn't even see that part either. Well, I thought that was stupid.
When his parents came, who was there? Me. And I'm like, and I bet you still go back to them two bitches. And he did.
Hold on, wait, so you was with him at the time? Or you was...
No, I was behind them.
Oh.
And I saw everything happen. And I'm like, for me, I am very... what's that word when you're a reactor?
Gotcha.
Like my instincts just kick in right away, and my immediate instincts were to protect him, because even though I ain't fuck with him at that time, I still loved him as my friend.
Yeah.
Like he was my first friend in high school. And we had like so many great memories together. So it's like, even though I may not fuck with you, I'll still love you, and I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. So like my instincts just kicked in. Yeah, my instincts just kicked in right away.
Yo, you know what's funny?
And they was beating his ass. They fucked him up too.
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to smoke because Carlton was probably the first and one of the few people that noticed that spread in school is not the spread outside of school. So when that happened, I wanted to smoke for different reasons, because that group of people, I don't know if you witnessed it, Carlton, or even you, Ant, but when they were together, act like complete fools, assholes, dicks, jerks. When they were separate, what's up? Or just regular, quiet. And that shit always got on my nerves. So when that incident happened, that's why I was just like, oh, man.
You see, I didn't have that problem with them. I had like a, yo, what's up? With each and every one of them, even as a group, I would always be like, what's up? So I don't know if it was like a respect thing, because I was, just cool with all of them. Not friends, just cool with all of them. But, you're absolutely right. Separately, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, what's up?
How you doing? More friendly when they went with each other. They were being the cool guys, and
I knew that. And I knew that. So I never tried to hold a conversation. Because I'm like, all right, I don't want to be seen talking to the gay guy or whatever. So I would do shit to protect myself, like say what's up and keep it moving.
That's it. It's just crazy because, again, that's how they were. And this is why I came to. This is some of the things that like I saw growing up. about how like gay people were treated, and it was like a lot of bashing for no reason. It's like bullying, and like you know what I'm saying. They were like the targets that you go to, and for whatever reasons,
But,
you
but
had
most of the time,
yeah. Go ahead.
most of the time that happens, I feel like they're not either comfortable within their sexuality or they're questioning their sexuality. So
Mm,
now they want to attack you because you're free, you're open, you're honest with yourself, you know who you are, but you're still questioning who you are because you're still pigeonholed and stereotyped to this. I need to be straight because I'm in the black community or I'm in the Latin community or whatever community you're in. I have to be this way because this is what I was brought up to be. But we're still dealing with that now.
yeah,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I know.
So
But
like,
Carlton, this is where I want to say, um, I think heterosexual people, straight people, they don't know the signs to look for,
Mm.
and this is why I say I
Mm.
knew the whole time.
Damn, I think it was gonna be a part you had to cut out.
Oh, you gonna? I mean,
Well,
Well,
we'll
Carlton,
determine. We'll
Carlton,
determine.
you're determined.
yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I've probably never revealed this to you, Carlton. No, I haven't to you, and I don't know if I told you this, Carlton, but you probably took it as a joke. So I don't know. Years ago, my brother, I guess he said it jokingly, but it was serious. He was just like, "No, you was at a point where I wasn't sure if you was gonna be gay or not."
Oh
So
shit.
I was, like, when he said that, I was like, "Wait, what?" Because I knew growing up, him and I were very close. We look alike. People called us twins, but we were very opposite people. Carlton, you found that out yourself. So I guess his process of you hitting puberty and then you hitting the teenage years and you're going after girls. I didn't have the same process, same journey he did. So he was very active early on than I was, and I was kind of like reserved and like picky and selective and seeking out, and you're trying to find confidence and you're finding who you are. So what I was going to ask you, Anthony, I was just like, you being a gay man, was that the read on me? Like, because I couldn't believe my brother said that.
Um, so I was gonna say this earlier, but I mean later, but I'll say it now. I really appreciate people like you, Carlton. There were so many other people in our class that never treated me any different. Like y'all treated me like one of the boys. And I really appreciate that. And I think that says a lot about you as a person and even more about how you were raised. Because children are products of how they're brought up. Um,
Agree.
um
I
the
appreciate that,
read
brother.
that I got, yeah, no doubt. The read I got on you, Spread, was you didn't know who you were yet. And I mean that in all aspects. Not even thinking about sexuality. Just you
Mm.
didn't know who you were because you knew how I felt about your brother. But that was because he was so different from you. Like he was super confident. Like when he walked in the room, it was like this nigga's here. But you, even though y'all look so much alike, y'all were like twins. Y'all were just so different. And I just always felt like you were figuring out who you were. And I gotta say, knowing you through those 3 years of high school, it was pretty amazing to watch. Because I felt like, and this is gonna be corny as fuck, but I felt like you started as a caterpillar and then you just like became a butterfly. Like literally anyone that was in your life at that time from freshman year, I don't know senior year, but from freshman year to senior year, they can attest to the fact that every year it's like you were evolving into like a new person
That's a fact.
versus a lot of us had already done it. I felt like you were just like a late bloomer. And it was really kind of cool to watch because you never became somebody you weren't. It was just a more confident person of who you already were.
That's true. Where basically, in funny terms, right? You became the scrawny little man, but now you're a piece of meat for most of these people out here. And good job. And good
Yeah, that was
job.
really deep, bro. Cause now I feel like hitting on my high school friends.
You know, man.